here. Welcome to See Smoke, and we're making dinner. Tonight we're going to do a Southern classic dinner. I'm making fried pork chops with homemade mashed potatoes and gravy. We did have one of our subscribers to ask us to show how to make some homemade gravy, so we're going to do that tonight. And that's one of the steps I'm going to start on first, because we're going to use the gravy to smother over our mashed potatoes. And then if you would like it over your pork chops, then go hog wild, do that too. I got a whole yellow onion here, and I have it in the pan, and I have about 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to start sauteing my onions here because I'm going to use those in my gravy. So I'm going to cook that first, and I'm just going to put some salt and pepper on them for right now while we're cooking those, and I'm going to saute them down a pretty good bit. I'm not going to caramelize them or anything, but I just want to saute them down a pretty good bit so they'll be good and soft in my gravy that I'm making. And I'm also going to get started on boiling my potatoes. I just took regular russet potatoes and peeled them and cut them up, and I'm going to boil those until they're fork tender, and then we'll take those out, and then we'll make our homemade mashed potatoes. So we're going to get everything started here first now. And always remember, start your, if you're going to start boiling homemade potatoes, or if you boil any potatoes, always start with cold water first. Don't do them hot or anything like that. No, I don't season my water or anything for this like I do pasta. I normally season my potatoes later on whenever I go to mix them. So we're just starting these from fresh, and we'll check them in just a little bit after they start boiling to see if they're getting softer. And like I said, we're just going to wait on these because I just got some fat in the pan with my onions. And like I said, we're just going to cook these down some, and then we're going to make gravy in this pan. And then we're going to build a dredging station and everything, and I'm going to show you how to make fried pork chops. Alright, well, we'll get back to this in just a little bit and check on it, and check on our potatoes. Okay, our potatoes are through boiling. Once you can put a fork in them and they're soft, then you know they're done. So we're fixing to drain these out. My onions are about where I want them also to make our gravy. So we're going to pull these potatoes out and strain them. So we'll be able to use those to make our mashed potatoes. And now we're going to get everything ready, everything out that I need to make our mashed potatoes and do our pork chops and everything. So we'll be back in just a moment. Alright, we're back. Sorry. I was trying to check my oil to see if it was hot enough to start frying pork chops. Whoops! Yeah, we're fixing to get started on frying pork chops, and we're going to make our gravy. I made a pan of dredging to put my pork chops in. I just used some all-purpose flour. I'm using some regular vegetable cooking oil to fry in. You can season your flour with whatever you want, salt, pepper, any kind of seasonings you like. That's easy enough to do. And then you're going to fry your pork chops, and the pork chops got to be what, 145. 145. So we want to make sure that our internal temp of our pork chops are 145. So yeah, I'm hoping my oil is hot enough now so I can stick one of these in there. And then once I get those started, then we'll start doing the gravy. That way I can clean my hands in between. And yes, that's a big old pork chop. I didn't plan on cooking them in the house to start with. We had planned on cooking them on the grill and grilling our pork chops, but unfortunately here today it rained a lot, which we needed because hasn't rained a whole lot recently. But that's all it's done most of the afternoon. So we can't go outside and cook today. So we're just going to make do in the house. And I'm just making sure when I'm breading my pork chops they're completely covered, which I think I'm only going to be able to put one in there at a time because since these are so large, if I try to put both of them in there, it's going to overcrowd my pan, and plus it will lower my temperature of my cooking oil. So let me wash my hands and we're going to get started making the gravy. Okay, and this is the pan we used earlier that had our onions in it. We cooked down, and I put a little bit of garlic in there. Like I said, you don't have to use the onions or garlic if you don't want to. I'm just using this for added flavor in my gravy, but you don't have to. Now, when you make homemade gravy, you have to have equal parts of fat and equal parts of flour. So I'm going to use 4 tablespoons of butter, which is 1/4 of a cup. And I'm going to put that in my pan. And I'm going to start melting it. And then once that's melted, then we'll add in our flour to it. Now my pork chop, I did have the grease on high, but I'm going to turn it down just a little bit because I don't want my grease to burn quickly before my pork chop gets done. So you don't want to keep it super hot because this is going to be a little bit longer of a cook. But we do want this on high and get it to cook because we're trying to, like I said, melt the butter. Let me move some of these onions over so we can open up the flat surface in the middle so I can get the butter to start melting, so it'll be where it's hot at. But we enjoy any comments that y'all send. We appreciate all the comments you do send. We welcome all our new subscribers we have. And as always, we'd like you to hit the like button, hit that notification bell, subscribe. If y'all have any recipes y'all want us to try out, just throw it down there in the comments and we'll read it and get back to you. If you have any questions or anything, then we're happy to answer those if we possibly can about cooking or anything that we do. So, yeah, we're good to go. And I know, yeah, sometimes cooking some things, it's like watching water boil. It takes forever to do. But we're getting there. But what we're fixing to do, cooking the fat and the flour, is called making a roux, is what we're going to do. Because we're going to cook the flour, and we have to make sure we cook the flour good because you want to get all the flour taste out. You don't want it to taste like pasty and gummy and have a funky flour taste to it whenever you eat your gravy. You eat your gravy. But like I said, you don't have to add the onions or anything. You don't even have to have or use butter to make gravy with. I mean, you could use shortening oil or olive oil or something like that. Or you can use ghee or duck fat or bacon fat or, you know, just whatever you have on hand or whatever you want to use that you like. Because like I said, as long as you just have fat to go in there, equal parts of fat and equal parts of flour. Alright, it looks like everything's finally melted like I need it to be. So we're going to add our 1/4 of a cup of flour because I said we have 1/4 of a cup of fat in there. I like saying fat, don't I? Butter. Because butter makes everything taste better. And I'm actually going to turn this down some because I don't want my flour to start scorching. But as you see, it's kind of like starting to make a paste and get thick in here, which I'm fixing to swap over and start using my whisk because we're going to need that whisk in a minute. But yeah, you definitely want to take the time. And the darker you make your roux, because like if you were making homemade gumbo or something like that, the darker you make it, the more nuttier it will taste, and the darker your final dish will be that you're making. And as you see, I'm just whisking this around, and I'm trying to cook the fat some and cook the flour so it doesn't make a nasty flour taste. Okay, I think we're about good on that. Now, you can add whatever liquid you want to your gravy. I'm going to use beef stock today just to give it some more flavor. But you can use any kind of stocks you want if you want to do that. And you can also use water. And a lot of times when you make country gravy, then you use milk or a cream. And we just want to, keep whisking this. And if we got to, as you see, it's starting to thicken up some, I want to add a little more liquid in there because we still want to make sure we cook our flour out. And you just want to keep adding liquid a little bit at a time till you get your gravy to the consistency that you want. And I'm going to add just a little bit more because it's cooking pretty quickly in there. Dave, how about turning over that pork chop? Yeah, I'm going to flip our pork chop so we can start browning the other side.
Get a hold to it,
I'm going to add a little more stock here because I want the gravy kind of thick, but I also don't want it too thin or anything either. Okay, I think I got it about the consistency I want it. So I'm going to turn this down and let it cook some. And as you see, we have no more lumps or anything. So all our flour has been cooked out. And all our liquid has been cooked out. So now you're just left with a nice homemade gravy. So I hope this helps who asked us to make a homemade gravy. Like I told them before, I am not the greatest at making homemade gravy. I'm not going to lie about that. I am one for cheating and using a packaged mix or using it out of the jar or using it out of a can or something like that. I'm not going to lie, I do the shortcuts. I do on occasion, yes, do it this way if I have all the ingredients in the house, but sometimes I don't just buy the extra ingredients to make, a lot of homemade items. I just go ahead and go easy and do the shortcuts. So this looks pretty good now. So I'm going to say this is all the way done. So now we have onion gravy. This is brown onion gravy. And as you see, mine's kind of light in color and it's not a dark brown. But that's just because I didn't cook my flour to a darker color. But this is ready and it's ready to eat. All you need to do is just taste it and see if you want to season it anymore. Just remember, if you use a broth or something, unless you get one that's low in salt or low in sodium or anything like that, you want to be careful about how much more salt you add to it. But definitely season it to your taste and your life. Our pork chop's still going, so we're going to go over here and I'm going to show you how to make the mashed potatoes now, the homemade mashed potatoes. Because our potatoes are done and we're going to mix them up. So I got my potatoes in a standing mixer and I did go ahead and put some butter in here. Now I'm going to start this and mash it a little bit with this first, and then I'm going to add a little milk to it. because I just want to beat them up just a little bit. Now, if you don't have a stand mixer, that's fine, or if you have a hand mixer, use it. If you have to do it the old-fashioned way, by all means, do so. If you got to use a handheld potato masher, just whatever you need to do to get it done. And just be careful about what kind of potatoes you use when you do it, because some potatoes are not good for making mashed potatoes with, because they get gummy and pasty whenever you try to mash them. So I'm going to pour some milk in here. I'm going to eyeball this to see about how much I need, which I'm going to say maybe I used 1/4 of a cup for right now. Everything. I'm going to try to get this out of the whisk because everything's getting stuck in my whisk. And I can't beat it up when it's all stuck in my whisk. Oh my goodness, potato, come out of there. Place this, and you just keep adding a little milk at a time until you get your mashed potatoes to the consistency that you want. So I'm going to add a little bit more milk in here, and we're going to start again. Make sure I scrape down my sides over here. So I make sure all my potatoes are getting in the middle and they're getting mixed. I got them about where I want them. Ow. And I'm just going to try my potatoes and see if they need any seasoning or anything in it. Nope, they seem to be good and they seem to be right. As Josie wants to show you that they're all beat up and they're all fluffy now. And they don't look lumpy. So, those are all done. So, that's how you mash your potatoes. So, check back with us in a minute and we're going to finish up the pork chops. Alright guys, dinner is now done. We have our homemade mashed potatoes with our onion gravy, our fried pork chops, and I have some squash here. Just remember, you got to make sure your pork chops are at 145 degrees before you pull them internally. Be sure you're always careful when you're cooking with grease to make sure you don't start a house fire or anything. And we like to thank everybody for watching and everything. Hopefully the homemade gravy answers any of the questions that you had about how to make homemade gravy. And we hope everybody has a wonderful night and enjoy cooking.
And it tastes like grandma used to make.